Behind me is the Windy SR44 Blackhawk, a boat that was launched at the Cannes Boat Show in 2019, but it's landed here in Lymington, and importantly, we can take it out for a sea trial. I'm going to tour it again. Now, I did tour this boat when it launched at the boat show in Cannes, and you can watch that video if you click on the banner at the top of the screen or the link below the video. So a quick look around this one, but then we'll get it out to sea and see what it can do. And this is a boat that was designed by Dubois, Jørgen Johnsen, who has designed boats, hulls for Windy for many years, and Design Unlimited, who did the interior. They're famous for doing many a super yacht interior. So a lot of design knowledge and pedigree has gone into this boat, and it is a fantastic looking thing. You really don't see many boats that look like this here in the UK, but in this weather it really does look right at home. Actually, it's a bigger boat in person than you might think. It has a lot of freeboard, it has real presence, it looks substantial and chunky. And when Windy designed this boat, they had super yacht tender duties in mind, as well as it being a pretty fantastic day boat. So you notice you have this really thick rubbing stroke, not only on the bathing platform, but all the way around the perimeter of the deck, right up to the bow. You have these teak treads here, so you can step onto these. Underneath you have the fuel filler caps and also a drain so that spilt fuel can run away. But you see these teak caps here mean that there's somewhere that you can step onto really easily if you're boarding from a quayside or from the mothership. Let's get on board and have a bit of a closer look though, shall we? So this particular boat, 840,000 euros plus VAT for this boat to this spec. This has got the largest stern drive engine options, 440 horsepower per side. You can have an IPS version as well, but I'll talk about that a bit more out on the water. And this particular model has got the optional hydraulic bathing platform, so this platform will go down into the water. You could keep your tender there, but actually this sort of boot lifts up at the touch of a button, and you could put a soft bottom tender in there as well if you wanted to keep the platform completely clear. And that's just a really useful space to store all sorts of kit, be it fenders, paddleboard, water sports toys, or your tender can all be swallowed underneath this section here. Another clever bit of design is that this backrest here slides, so you can see there's a track down here, there's the same over on that side, so this can slide all the way this way, so you get a much bigger sun pad sort of in the boat. This is a nice place to lie if you want to look aft, sort of back over the water. And actually the table also drops all the way down. You can put cushions in there, so you get another sun pad forward. It's a really fantastic living, socialising space in good weather. Notice you've got deck storage here, so this lifts up to give you some storage in the deck. There's another one there, and there's another one right forward as well, so storage really is quite good. And that's the thing, this is a Windy, it's built with usability and practicality in mind, despite looking like it does. You know, there's real practical thinking going on. Look at the size of these pop-up cleats dotted all along the side of the boat. You've got these guardrails that are inset. They didn't want guardrails on top of the bulwarks, which will ruin the lines, but you have got these nice grab handles here that are really easy to hold on to, and you've got them running all the way up to the forward end of the boat as well. And back here you've got the deck shower, so you can have a wash off with fresh water when you come in from the sea. And you can see here, this is the shore power cable, and they've got little cutouts here so that you can shut this door, keep it all neat and tidily kept away. Now, as an option, there's a sunshade that pops out of here, so this produces shade for the dinette when you're having lunch in the middle of the day. Slightly strange is that they don't have a button for that down here. You have to control it through the MFD, which for me is just a bit too fiddly. There's a button down here to lower the table and raise the table. There's a button back here to put the garage up and down, but there's no physical button for the sunshade, and that to me feels like a bit of an omission. But it does work really well. It comes a long way out, so you get a nice amount of shade over this area here. And just look at the size of this table. Something that separates this boat from the likes of Fjord or Pardo, Solaris, is that you don't have to have a full walk around on both sides. So you see how the seating extends over to the starboard side. You can have this boat with a walkway down the starboard side if you prefer, but I really like the way that the seating stretches right across to the starboard side. It gives you a corner to lean into so you can lie back and relax. And just look at the number of people you could comfortably sit around this table for lunch. And if you're having lunch, you need a decent wet bar, and this boat has just that. Nice, beautifully made, smooth moulded lid here. That's the thing, this is an expensive boat, you know, 840,000 euros before VAT, but my God, it's high quality. It really does feel the business, the components, the mouldings, the materials they've used. It does feel a cut above many of its rivals. And so yes, it's expensive, but you do feel that across the boat. Anyway, onto the wet bar. You have the grill in the middle here, plenty of space to prepare food, nice deep sink over on the starboard side there. Under here, this particular boat's got a microwave, but I'm sure you could have an ice maker there if you preferred. Bit of storage here. That's also where the bin is on deck. This is where you find the fridge, so you've got cooling space on deck, and then a little bit more storage in this one. These nice deep drawers, really useful to have that on deck just to chuck odds and ends nice and securely. Put that down again, and obviously this is in the middle of the boat, so it's in a really good position to serve people who are in the dinette. It's easy to get up to the foredeck and serve people who are using the sunbathing space up there. We'll have a closer look in a second. And then we get here to the business end, and it is a fantastic helm position. Again, I'll go into more detail when I'm actually driving it, but from looking at it, you can see it's Windy doing their best and making it comfortable and ergonomic. It's simple and clean and classy, but looks to work really well. And I really like these seats. I like the fact that you've got these built-in armrests with cup holders in them so that people can keep their drinks there close to them. The seats aren't sort of bucket seats, they aren't suspension seats, but they're just deeply upholstered, hold you in place really well. Really, really comfortable. Obviously, most of your information is through these MFDs, but you have got hard buttons here, and you've got these nice little fiddles here, so if you lay a phone down there or some sunglasses, you know they're not going to come flying away when the boat accelerates. Now, what you can have is the windscreen completely enclosed, so it meets the T-top here. This is sort of the Med design, half height, and for me at 6 foot, that is right in my eye line, so it doesn't work particularly well for me, and it means that I sort of want to sit down at the helm, which is fine. But if you're 6 foot on the nose and you do get the top of the windscreen in your eye line. Look at some of the details though. You see how the glass dips down here so that you can use this handhold, you can wrap your hand right round it and have a proper handhold, and they've done it on both sides obviously. Just clever little things, that the sort of thing that Windy are very good at thinking about. There's more deck storage here, as I mentioned, so these hatches lift up, they're nice and deep, they've got covers in them at the moment, but they're in a good position and they're a good size. You've got another one here on the starboard side, note the stainless steel deck drains. You've got deck lighting here as well, fusion speakers, it's all really nicely and smartly integrated. Under here as well, this is where you get your fuel shut-offs as well. Nice to have them really close to the helm, easy to get to, they're not tucked away and hidden. Really good thinking. So if we move right forward, there's a step up here, but again you've still got a handhold all the way right forward. You've got something to hold on to, and then a nice thick comfortable sun pad here. A couple of people can stretch out, and there's no shelter here, so if you really want to catch some rays, this is the place to be. But this is nice and deep. You don't feel that you're too vulnerable up here because the bulwarks come up nice and high, and as I said, you've always got this railing to grab onto. And up here, this is obviously your anchor setup. We're going to have a closer look at these really smart Windy branded cleats. Here's your anchor locker, nice and deep, really, really deep actually. You get all the fenders in there. Would be nice to have something to tie them onto though, because that is just a big deep void. But really, really useful storage space there. Now, as an option, you can have a mechanism where this folds back into the anchor locker, so you have no anchor on show if you're not going to use it. But it's a €20,000 option, so I'm not sure it'll be particularly popular. But if you don't like the look of the anchor hanging out the front, you can have it so that can be hidden away if you want it to be. And just aft under this hatch is where you have access to the windlass. This is where the chain gathers, and it is good that this is compartmentalised, so again you can put lines and things down there and you know it's not going to get caught up in the anchor chain. Split anchor locker, but actually it works pretty well. Alright, if we head back, we can have a look at the interior. Now, this style of boat is clearly designed with on-deck living in mind, but they haven't dropped the ball on this interior. As I said, it's done by Design Unlimited, so it's really stylish. There's this dark Wenge wood we've got here. There's a lighter oak option as well if you prefer slightly lighter wood, but it's really spacious in here actually. I've got plenty of headroom, and actually it stays the same as you move forward. Really doesn't drop down too much. Open plan arrangement, though you have got a partition that comes down, like fabric partition that comes down, meets the floor. You can separate this cabin off if you want a bit more privacy. The cabin itself, yeah, it's a good sized bed. You've got plenty of natural light because they have managed to inset some glazing in the coach roof here. Obviously you've got a sky hatch as well. There's a bit of storage here, got a wardrobe here, a bit more storage here. You know, this is not a boat where people are going to spend weeks on end. It's really not. It's a weekender, but for two of you especially, it's a very comfortable weekender. You've got nice trays here for odds and ends and fiddle so that they can't slide around. Fusion stereo system here. You connect to via Bluetooth and use your phone. Dometic, this boat's got the optional air conditioning fitted. Little seat here. You can sit down, put shoes and socks on. And then you have a usable galley as well. Okay, it's not enormous, but you've got a nice deep sink. Countertop, which I'd like to see a little fiddle on just to stop things rolling off on this edge. There's a fridge down here. There's a bit of storage, you know, typical Windy touches, like you've got proper storage slots for the chopping board and the infill for the sink. Everything shuts with a nice clunk. It does feel really properly made. A bit of storage down here, some drawers, which are held in place really securely. And then there's some fiddled storage behind as well. And this is where you find your control panel. All really easy to get to, nicely labelled. Typically sensible stuff. The other thing you have is an amidships cabin. So okay, it's under the cockpit, so headroom is pretty restricted. It's sort of sitting only really when you're in there. But the berths are a decent length. You've got reading lights in there, you've got storage on both sides. That cushion there is the infill for the dinette up in the cockpit, so you put the table down, put that cushion on top, you get another sun pad. But you know, for the occasional guests, more than comfortable enough. Okay, there's no privacy here. This is completely open to the cabin, this one. But really not too bad for the occasional night. And what's really impressive on this boat is the bathroom. Separate, obviously, but it's a really good size. I mean, headroom is 6'3" in here, easily. And they've managed to separate off the shower a bit. There is a folding door here, so there's a separate shower cubicle with a rain shower head, little seat in it. So you have a shower, you won't get the rest of the bathroom completely soaked. It's a good size, it's nicely finished, there's a bit of storage in here. It's probably more important to have a good bathroom on a boat like this than it is to have sleeping space really. And this is, you know, if you need to use the facilities when you're out day boating, and this is a very nice space. So we come back out and head aft and explain about how you get to the engine room. So you lift up the garage hatch. It actually comes up quite quickly. It's quite nice. You're going to be using it regularly. You don't want to be waiting ages for it to come up and down. Up it comes. Nice that they've got LED strip lighting here as well to light up the deck at night. And you have these three catches here. So this is where you'd stow your tender, water sports kit, as I explained. You can lift up this whole section. You can see there are three hinges back there. Whole section comes up, and then you have really great access to both the engines and the drives. No matter if you have stern drive or IPS, they're in a similar position, and access really is quite good. Once, of course, you cleared all the kit out and in the tender garage. Right, so here we are then, out on the water where we want to be in conditions like this, conditions that this boat was built for. Now this one's got the twin 440 horsepower Volvo Penta stern drives. You can have it with 400s, don't think anyone's going to do that. You can also have with two IPS options as well. Now this boat will top out at 42 knots. They've also just produced an outboard version for the US at this stage, which has got a pair of Mercury's 600 horsepower V12s, and that's going to be quite comfortably doing 50 knots, I imagine. But on this boat, you get up to 30 knots and that's where she starts to feel really comfortable. And that's the thing, I know we're in quite easy conditions today, it is pretty perfect, but it's just a very easy, relaxing boat to cruise aboard. And a lot of that comes from this fantastic driving position. You sit really comfortably, you don't sort of feel the need to stand at this helm because you sit so nice and high.
You've got a tremendous view forward, got quite a long dashboard, but then your eye immediately sort of hits the anchor and you've got a great view forward. It's nice and clear. And yes, it's quite an open boat, but you feel very well protected. You can have the windscreen meet the T-top if you want, so you get even more shelter. But I imagine in the Mediterranean or Florida, somewhere like that, where this boat's sort of designed to be, you'd have this sort of half windscreen, so you do get a bit of breeze when you're moving along. But this just is so effortless. Engines are pulling about 3,000 RPM. They've sort of melted away into the background. The steering is lovely and light, so if you need, it's quite a busy Solent day, so if you need to negotiate other craft, it's easy to do, and it's great fun. It sort of shrinks around you. You know, it's quite a big boat, this. Yes, it's an open boat, but it's got quite a lot of freeboard and it feels substantial. It just hoovers up the sea really, really comfortably. I mean, this is a big structure above me here, and though it's a calm day, one of the things I have noticed is that this T-top does make itself heard if you catch a chine. The hull feels as solid as you'd expect a Windy to do. There's a lot of parts up here on deck, so sometimes you just get the odd rattle come through if you catch a chine, but I've only really had that when I've been crossing the wake at quite silly speeds, which most people aren't going to be doing. But I just really enjoy this driving position, and the fact you can have two other people either side of you. They've got these same lovely supportive seats, this same excellent view forward. The dash is clean and really sensibly laid out, all made from dark material, so when the sun's shining you're not getting blinded by reflections coming off the dashboard. I love this steering wheel, this sort of single spoke steering wheel. It looks and feels absolutely fantastic. And when this boat gets really enjoyable is when you start to throw a few turns around, and that's why I'm glad this one's got the stern drives. As I said, there are two IPS options, IPS 600, IPS 650. Personally, I'd opt for the stern drives because you've got the joystick on this, of course, especially with these DPI legs. The joystick is just as intuitive as it is on the IPS boats, but it means you get stern drive handling, so you just get a little bit more heel, a bit more grip, slightly tighter turns if you do have to turn back on yourself quickly. This boat will probably do it more neatly than the IPS boat. Performance really much of a muchness. And something this big and this comfortable, it really has no right to be this enjoyable to drive, but that's what Windy do. There's always an eye on performance and handling, and it's great to see in them producing this luxurious sports boat here that's slightly different what they've done previously, apart from the 52 Blackbird. They haven't lost that edge, and that's really, really encouraging to see. Thank you very much for watching our review of the Windy SR44 Blackhawk. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like, and remember to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you're notified every time we upload a new video. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.